Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are all about getting to the heart of a really important story. And today, we're diving into some incredible work happening in a part of the world that many would say faces some pretty incredible hardships.
Yeah, I think that's right. We're going to be focusing on work of Alexandria and Giovanna Canhoni and their organization AGD. That stands for Asociación Guerreros de Deus, or Warriors of God Association, and they work in Niger.
Niger. When you think about places facing serious challenges, Niger really comes to mind, doesn't it? I mean, it has the lowest human development index of any country in the world.
That's a big one.
It really is.
Yeah.
Think about the inequality, the humanitarian crises, and the just widespread feeling of despair. It's really hard to grasp. And this is the environment where Alexandria and Giovanna have been working for the last 20 years.
20 years.
20 years.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So our goal today in this deep dive is to understand how faith and love, when they're put into action, can really create change in a place like Niger. And we've got some amazing material to go through today that looks at their work and the impact they've had.
I'm excited to jump in.
Me too. Okay, so first things first. I think, like a lot of people, I'm wondering what would lead someone to make such a huge life change. In 2003, Alexandria and Giovanna left their lives, their careers, their families in Brazil to move to Niger. What was the spark? What made them do it?
You know, it seems like it wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment kind of thing. It was a deeply held conviction. They actually describe it as a divine call written on their hearts.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was that deep spiritual belief that was the real driver behind their decision.
I think so. And it wasn't this vague idea of, I want to help people. This was something much deeper and more personal for them.
I see. And it's not just an internal feeling. I was struck by something Alexandria said. True faith, he said, isn't measured by Sunday attendance, but by willingness to become bread for the hungry in God's hands.
Right.
I mean, when you hear that, you really get a sense of their whole philosophy, don't you?
You do. Their inspiration actually comes directly from the parable of the Good Samaritan. They talk about that.
Oh, interesting.
And it's about moving beyond just feeling bad for people who are suffering and actually getting involved, getting your hands dirty, being present in those difficult situations. So yeah, a very hands-on approach.
What also struck me was their commitment. It's been 20 years.
I know.
That's such a long time. Think about all the challenges of living in Niger, the threat of terrorism, medical emergencies, the personal losses that they've undoubtedly experienced. How do you think they've kept going for so long?
Well, Giovanna actually talked about a moment that was really key for her. She saw a photograph of children in Niger. They were just skeletal from malnutrition. And she described it as this really visceral experience. All of a sudden, their comfortable life back in Brazil felt like, in her words, disobedience. That image was a real turning point for them. It wasn't an abstract problem anymore. It was real children suffering. And it demanded a response.
Right. It really personalizes it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You also mentioned this idea of a theology of incarnation.
Right.
Can you explain what that means in the context of their work? Because I think some people might not be familiar with that term.
Sure. Basically, it's the belief that faith is best expressed through action, through actually engaging with the brokenness of the world. So instead of being detached or separate, it's about embodying faith by being present with those who are suffering. And for Alexandra and Giovanna, it's not about sacrifice. They see this engagement as a sacred opportunity to make a difference. It's really powerful stuff.
Yeah, their faith really is tangible in the work they do.
Absolutely.
So we've got this personal calling, we've got this theology of incarnation, and that really seems to form the foundation of their work. Their organization, AGD, also operates with some clear guiding principles.
Yeah.
What are those?
Well, there are three main ones. The first is promoting human transformation.
Okay.
And that's really important because it means their focus goes beyond just giving aid. They want to restore lives and potential. It's about seeing people thrive and flourish.
I see. So it's not just a temporary fix.
Exactly. It's long-term, sustainable change.
What's the second principle?
Serving without distinction.
Okay.
And in a place like Niger, this is really important. They help people regardless of their religion, their ethnicity, anything. Whether they're Muslim or Christian, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Their help is unconditional. And I think that's a big part of why they've been able to build trust and relationships in the communities they serve.
It really speaks to that belief in the inherent dignity of every person.
It does.
And the third principle?
The third one is responsible management.
Okay.
So this is about being transparent with their resources. They're accountable.
Right.
They want to make sure donations are used well and that the aid reaches the people who need it most.
I think that's so important for people to know.
It is.
There's a quote from Alexandra that I think really brings all of this together. He said, "It is not enough to pray for justice. We must be instruments of it."
Yeah, that's powerful.
It's clear their faith isn't passive. It's an active call to create a better world. So how do these principles translate into the actual work that AGD does? What kinds of projects are they involved in?
Well, their work is really diverse. They address some of the most urgent needs in Niger. Let's start with nutrition.
Okay.
Malnutrition is a huge problem in Niger, and AGD provides 30,000 meals every single month to children who are suffering from malnutrition.
30,000 meals a month? That's incredible.
It is. It's a massive operation. Just think about the number of lives they're impacting.
And the difference that must make to those children.
It's life-changing. They see children arrive in terrible condition, weak, listless. But after a few months of consistent, good nutrition, they're healthy and full of energy.
That's amazing.
It is. And to give you an idea of how widespread this problem is, UNICEF estimates that half of the children under 5 in Niger experience stunting because of chronic malnutrition. So AGD is really tackling a huge issue.
Wow. And it's not just about handing out food in an emergency. It sounds like they have a much more thought-out approach.
Right. It's not just emergency food aid. They combine that with long-term health tracking. They document each child's progress. They actually describe it as going from skeletal to smiling.
I love that.
I know, it's great. The AGD health coordinator said, "We don't just fill stomachs, we reignite the spark of life in their eyes."
Wow. So beyond just providing the meals, what else do they do as part of their nutrition program?
So they provide therapeutic foods for the children who are most severely malnourished. They use growth charts to carefully track each child's recovery. They teach families about hygiene, which is so important for breaking the cycle of disease.
Right.
And they help mothers with nutrition.
Okay.
So it's really a comprehensive approach. They recognize that malnutrition isn't just about a lack of food.
It's so multifaceted.
It is.
Do we have any specific examples of the impact of their nutrition program?
We do. There's this really great story about a child who came to one of their programs. He was so weak he could barely move. And now this same child plays soccer at their centers.
Wow.
It's a real testament to the power of good nutrition.
That's an incredible image. So in addition to nutrition, education is another crucial area where AGD is making a difference.
It is. They understand that education is key to long-term empowerment, and so they sponsor 300 children in local schools.
Wow.
And this sponsorship covers everything: tuition, school supplies, transportation, meals. It removes so many of the barriers that keep kids from getting an education.
It really does.
It's an investment in their future.
And they also have a daycare program for younger children, right?
They do. Their daycare provides care and education for 250 children every day.
Sure.
And they get, loving care, they have educational activities, and they get nutritious food. It's really important support for working parents, and it ensures that these kids get a strong start in life.
Absolutely. And I read about a really ambitious project they're working on, the ABBA school.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So the ABBA school is going to be a free vocational training center. It's a big investment. They need $2 million to complete it.
Wow.
But the goal is to give young people the skills they need to get jobs and break out of poverty. It's about creating pathways to self-sufficiency.
It's a huge commitment to the future of Niger.
It is.
Empowering people with skills that can lead to real economic independence. And they also focus on empowering women, don't they?
They do. They have a program called Maison des Fleurs, which means House of Flowers.
Oh, I like that.
And they enroll 60 women in courses like sewing, tailoring, and literacy.
Wow.
And these skills give women a chance to be financially independent and improve their lives.
And are these skills actually leading to economic opportunities for the women who go through the program?
Yes, they are. Many of the women who've graduated from the program are now earning money through their tailoring and sewing skills. And there's a story about a group of 10 women who graduated from the program and then started their own sewing workshop.
Oh, that's amazing.
Isn't that great?
It's not just about teaching skills. It's about fostering real independence.
Exactly.
I also understand that AGD is involved in sports and cultural activities.
Yes, they are.
How does that fit into their overall mission?
Well, they have 3 soccer teams for at-risk youth.
Okay.
So it's a chance for them to get exercise, be part of a team.
Right.
And it teaches them things like teamwork and discipline.
Yeah.
They also have art and music programs to nurture the talents and creativity of these young people.
It's about holistic development, isn't it?
It is.
Providing positive outlets for their energy.
Yeah, and we have a great example of the impact of the sports program, Yusuf.
Tell me about Yusuf.
He was a street child, and now he's the captain of one of AGD's soccer teams.
That's wonderful.
It shows how AGD goes beyond just meeting basic needs.
Right.
They give these young people a chance to grow and become leaders.
I see.
A real sense of purpose.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
And finally, it seems AGD is also helping refugee families, right?
They are.
Given everything that's going on in the region with groups like Boko Haram.
It's a huge issue. So many people have been forced from their homes, and AGD provides them with food, medical care, and emotional support.
Wow.
The conditions these families are living in are really awful, so AGD's support is absolutely critical.
It's just amazing, the breadth of their work. They touch so many different parts of life in Niger.
It is.
It's truly inspiring.
It is.
And we've heard some really moving stories of individual transformation, like Amina.
Yes.
Can you remind us of her story?
Sure. Amina came to AGD suffering from severe malnutrition. And thanks to their nutrition program and access to education, she's thriving. She's in school and she dreams of becoming a doctor.
That's just amazing.
It is.
A real testament to the impact they have. And we've also heard about the women who became entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And Yusuf, who's now a leader.
It's incredible.
These stories really show what AGD is all about.
They do.
But it's important to remember the context, right?
It is.
Niger's a really difficult place.
Yeah, it's one of the poorest countries in the world. There's so much instability, and children are the most vulnerable.
Right.
They face malnutrition, lack of education, sometimes even abandonment. It's heartbreaking.
It's hard to imagine.
It is. And that's why AGD's work is so remarkable.
They're providing immediate help.
Yes.
But they're also focused on long-term solutions.
Exactly.
They're offering a path to a better future.
To rehabilitation and hope.
I think we've all been so inspired by learning about Alexandra and Giovanna and the AGD team.
It's amazing work.
So for those of us listening who want to support their mission, what are their most pressing needs right now?
Well, they need to finish building the ABBA school, that vocational training center. That's going to cost $2 million US. Then their daycare is in danger of flooding. They need to do some renovations to make sure the kids are safe.
Okay.
And of course, they need ongoing donations to keep all of their programs running. You know, the nutrition program, the schools, supporting families.
It's a lot.
It is.
So how can people help?
Well, if you're in Brazil, you can donate using PIX. The key is 08.280.90600001.012.
Okay.
If you're outside Brazil, you can use Zelle. The address is mgiovanak@hotmail.com.
Okay.
And everyone can find more information on their website, www.agdniger.com/OCOW. That's where you can make online donations.
Great.
And, you know, even just sharing their story on social media can make a big difference.
It all helps.
It does.
There's a quote from Giovanna that I think sums this up perfectly. She said, "Alone, we are a drop. Together, we are an ocean of change."
That's beautiful.
It really highlights how even small actions can add up to something huge.
It does. AGD is living proof that faith and action can truly transform lives.
They've done incredible work over the past 20 years.
They have.
But there's still so much more to do.
There is.
So to all our listeners, if you believe in a better world, please consider joining this mission. Be the hope that the people of Niger need. Support AGD's life-changing work.
Because your generosity writes new stories of hope.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the work of Alexandra and Giovanna Canhoni and AGD in Niger. It's a story that reminds us of the power of dedication, faith, and love.
What really struck me was the importance of long-term commitment and serving others without judgment, and Alexandra and Giovanna's focus on addressing the root causes of these problems. It's a powerful model for all of us.
And as you go about your day, we want you to think about the principles we've talked about today. This radical commitment, serving without distinction, and focusing on real transformation.
These are principles that we can all apply in our own lives.
Exactly. Think about what it means for you to be an instrument of justice in your own community, in your workplace, in your daily life.
It's a question worth pondering.
It is. Thanks for listening.